Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is LaCrystal Robinson, and I'll be the webinar moderator for today. Today, we are presenting Creating, Communicating, and Connecting Technology and Adventure Travel, which will be presented by Heather Kelly. And just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel, and I'll bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for questions at the end. Our presenter today is Heather Kelly, the Senior Manager of Research for Adventure Travel Trade Association. Heather grew up in Ithaca, New York, and still resides nearby, which is a great home base for exploring the world. After working for a hospitality research firm and in the hotel sales office, Heather went on to spend 3.5 years as a marketing manager for the Aruba Convention Bureau for North America, and 1 year as a consultant with Discover the Palm Beaches, Florida. The Caribbean is still one of her favorite places to visit, and she has been to 15 islands and counting. A PDI certified diver and boat lover, Heather's favorite adventure activities involve the water, although she is horrible at windsurfing. A true lover of learning, Heather has earned a BS in communications from Ithaca College, an MBA in marketing from Suffolk University, and an MS from the Hotel School of Cornell University. She has taught undergraduate and graduate level marketing at 4 universities. Her role with ATTA gives her plenty of opportunities to continue incorporating her love of knowledge with her passion for the tourism industry. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Heather.
Thank you, LaCrystal. Hi, everyone. I'm going to hide my self view because I don't want to look at myself. I'd rather hear from all of you. So as LaCrystal said, we are here today to talk about a report on technology that ATTA did in partnership with Flywire, who is our preferred global payments partner. I'm sure you've seen messaging around their services from us. We love them. I love working with them. I hope you've had great experiences as well. And I am Heather Kelly, Senior Research Manager for ATTA, and I'm going to turn it to Sydney Banks with Flywire for just a really quick introduction on Flywire.
Thanks, Heather. I know I'm not the main attraction here, so I'll pass it back off to you quickly. But I just wanted to say hello to everyone and a welcome from Flywire. My name is Sydney Banks. I'm on the travel team at Flywire, who, as Heather said, is sponsoring this webinar and report today. We're also a fellow member of ATTA. I'm sure a lot of you have heard our name, but we're a member as a technology service provider, and more specifically, we're a payment technology service provider who supports and processes payments for members of the adventure travel industry. So we thought it would only be appropriate to sponsor this awesome report today in this webinar on the state of technology in the adventure travel industry. So we've been alongside you all. We know it's been a long couple of years for all of us operating in the travel space particularly, and have noticed, in the conversations I've had with clients, that a lot of you are really taking the time to look a bit closer at your technological offerings, both on the back office side of things and on the customer facing side of things, whether that's the website or booking platforms and things like that. So it's been a super exciting time to see companies implement these new technologies and to get a better idea of those technology providers who are out there who are innovating in the travel technology space, because I think there's a lot of room for improvement and really cool technology out there that Heather will talk about shortly. So a quick Flywire plug. Many, as Heather said, have probably heard of us on previous webinars and reports, but to give you a quick overview, our payment solutions are specifically catered towards travel businesses with the goal of streamlining payment operations on both that traveler side, so making it a localized payment experience no matter where the payer is ultimately paying from, and for you guys, the travel businesses side, so consolidating your payment providers into a one-stop shop, so you're not working with 10 different kind of banks and card processors, and reducing costs and the administrative burden overall when it comes to accepting payments for your businesses and your amazing adventures that you offer. So as the slide says, we have a standing offer. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys in your business to see if we might be a fit for your payment needs, to see how we can reduce those costs. Please feel free to visit that link there, flywire.com/assessment, or you can reach out to me at sydney.banks@flywire.com to connect. But that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining today. Enjoy the awesome insights from this webinar and report, and I will pass it back to you, Heather.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sydney. So As many of you know, if you've been on a webinar with me before, I like to hear where everyone's from. So I'm just going to go back to the intro screen here, and I see Dave. Yep, there's Jesse. This is in Switzerland. We just had a great event in Switzerland, and our ATWS, our World Summit, is going to be in Switzerland in September. So just to get us started, I would love to hear where everyone's from. So if you want to put in the chat just what country you're from, what region. I see we have a few people from Nepal. Someone in Arizona with a lodge in Tanzania, New York City. I'm in upstate New York. Svetlana, I'm pretty close. Portugal, Panama, great. We have a team in Panama right now. Canada, Netherlands, Norway, Philly, Portugal, India, Tim, UK. It's Tim from Singapore. Someone from UK, Norway, Boston, Bhutan, Nepal, Peru, Tajikistan, Alaska, UK, France, another Nepal, Colombia. This is my favorite thing about these webinars, honestly, is talking to people from all over the world. And I'm going to ask you a few times throughout to share your opinion. And I would really love to hear, from everyone, of course. Ecuador, great, we're really well represented today. So thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to close my chat window. This is a webinar on technology, and we all have our own struggles. Okay, chat window's closed. So now we can go on, but LaCrystal will be here supporting me and monitoring the chat window. So for future questions I'm gonna ask, sometimes I'll have it open, sometimes she'll help me out. So we are, as Sydney and I both mentioned, here to talk about a report on technology that ATTA partnered with Flywire on. So this is the content page, the table of contents for the full report that is available on the research page of our website. No charge, it's free to everyone. You just have to be a free community member to download. We are going to just skim through most of these and hit the high points. Today, we do not have time to go through the full 40-page report. There's a lot of text in there, but I want to try and introduce things to everyone and see if we can answer some questions. And I also am going to look for a little feedback from you all on technology, because this is one of those topics that's really difficult. It's so personal, it's so individualized. You really need to have technology that works great for your business. What works well for you is not necessarily going to work well for someone else, even a competitor, someone in your similar situation. You might need different solutions. So this is a hard topic to research because it's so personalized. So I'm going to ask a couple questions throughout. I would first, we're going to look at a beautiful picture of Jordan for this question. We try always to use pictures from all around the world. I would like to ask you how you would rate your current knowledge of technology from 1 to 5. So perfect, LaCrystal pulled up the poll here. So if 5 is highest and 1 is lowest, I'm just curious, everyone on here, I'd like to know who we're talking to, what level of knowledge you have. We can customize it a little bit to you. So number 1 would be like, you're happy you made it to this webinar. You signed on okay. You're like my dad who has a flip phone and who still signs his text to me. He signs it, -dad, which is really sweet. But I don't know who it's coming from. So that would be number 1. And then number 5 would be, you're implementing your own CMS and CRM, and you feel like your company is doing the best it can. You have really good technology. You're really happy with it. I'm guessing a lot of those people aren't on the call right now. I'm guessing a lot of us are here to learn more because we're not confident in our knowledge. So let's see. I don't know, it looks like we have 37 people on the Crystal. If we have a bunch of results, or a bunch of responses, we can show the results now. Or I'll give you guys another minute and stop talking. Poll, okay. Oh, good. So we have a couple 1s, a couple 5s. Great. I'm really happy. Looks like we have a few experts on here too. So I'd love to hear, as we go throughout, I want to hear from everyone. Otherwise, good. A bunch of 4s, people in the middle. That's great. Thank you. Thank you all for responding to that. So that gives me a little bit of an idea. We have some people who I can ask for advice and some people who are going to come out and ask us for advice, and that's great too. So getting started. just to set us all on the same page, we all know what technology does, right? We all know the word, and what it can do for us in adventure travel is really help potential visitors find, research, and book travel services. So I think that's the key, most important thing about technology and what it can do is to help potential buyers find you, to help potential clients find you. So we can do that with search engines, websites, email, social media, other similar tools. We'll talk about successful adoption of technology can really help adventure travel companies to improve their products, pricing, promotion, and distribution. So if you've taken a marketing class or read books on it or articles on it, these are the 4 Ps: product, price, promotion, and place. So this is, technology can help in all of these aspects. In marketing, it can be more agile, help you be more agile and flexible to meet changing demand and environmental shifts. It can help companies run their businesses more efficiently and effectively. This one is what I really think is key. So of course, it's important to help potential buyers find you. Of course, it's important to be agile, be able to make changes. But technology isn't about replacing your current people or replacing your people's skills. Adventure travel in particular, we all know it's about connecting people to each other. Adventure travelers want that connection. They want the personal aspect. They don't really want to just do everything digitally, do everything automatically. So in this industry in particular, technology can really help support your people, can be there in the background and automate the tasks that are traditionally done by staff so that they can work with the guests because that's what they probably want to be doing. And that's what their guests want. Your guests want to be able to talk to your staff and get to know people and have that local experience. So technology can also better meet travelers' preferences for communicating, shopping, and buying digitally. So consumers want to be able to buy digitally. Even though I just said they want to talk with you, to talk with individuals, they want to do that in their own style. So communicating might be through WeChat or through Facebook Messenger or through a chat box on your website. Some consumers are going to want to email or call. You really need to be flexible and be able to talk in lots of different ways. And we'll talk more about that later. Shopping, of course, that gets to the distribution and which OTAs are you listing on, and are you offering, online payment booking systems and buying digitally. So maybe they want to be able to customize a package on your website and buy digitally. Or, they at least want to be able to pay through Flywire or PayPal or whatever system works best for them. They don't necessarily want to have to put in a credit card or have to send you a bank transfer. This is really what technology is about, is addressing the individual customers. And it can also help you widen your networks of resources and contacts. So social media, of course, super important. We all know. And we'll talk a little more about that. And then just in general, embrace a more global approach to travel. So including diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI initiatives, which we're talking a lot about. I know it's very forward in the US right now, this topic. I can't speak to the rest of the world, really. I'm not sure exactly how it's affecting you and your businesses. So we don't really talk more about it in this report, but we do have others coming out this year that will look more into diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is a little more of an academic piece too. I try not to get too academic in this report because I know that's not what people want to read, but the long tail of travel. So you might have seen this or heard this talked about. This is a page in the report, of course, but there's also been kind of popular pop culture marketing books written on this. So just when we talk about this or when we hear about it, think of it as the big sales popularity. So most money that's being made is on the mass tourism experiences, high volumes of tourists, low price points. That's not what we do. We do specialized experiences in emerging market or more advanced markets available through adventure tourism, volunteer tourism, cultural heritage tourism, where we don't have as many people, but they pay more and they bring much more value to your community, to your company, to themselves. So adventure travel is down here in the long tail. So we just think of that as, it's a whole lot of money coming from fewer people is what we think of as that. So just wanted to touch on that quickly. Looking at the state of the industry. So here is a spot, another spot I'd like to ask you some questions. So I'm going to, if I do it right, pull up the chat. And I would like to know, what current challenges do you have with your technology? What is, just a couple words, what are you really struggling with? And we will try to address, you can put that in the chat anytime. We'll try to address some of them here on the webinar. And if we don't get to them, or if they come in later, then we will try and write up an ATN article, Adventure Travel News article, something that we can really help you. So I'm not seeing any messages unless I'm get the first contact with leads. Yes, okay. So actually talking to someone, bringing them in. Connection quality, low usage on tourism. Oh, Brexit. Oh, Dave, I don't even know what is going on with all the COVID restrictions and Brexit, and that's a big struggle. Okay, so we'll talk about leads, and so for connection quality, Munira, do you mean by that connection as in like technology connection, like Wi-Fi, or having good internet? Internet, okay, good, that's what I thought. Resource management, travel ban, uncertainty, yep, that's huge too. Not much technology can do about that. Exposure on Google. Google is huge. I just read something this morning that Facebook's earnings are way down. There, fewer people are using Facebook this month than last month for the first time ever. And Google is, of course, continuing to expand in popularity. So Google is huge. Okay. Let's take communication. Okay. So that's a good, we're going to definitely talk about a few of these, and the chat will be saved, as I said. So I will go back through, if you think of other challenges as we're talking, please pop them in the chat and I'll see them later. And then if it looks like we're having some trends, I'll write up an ATN article on it. So looking at the state of the industry, there are a couple of surveys out there. For this one, we didn't do any brand new surveys, primarily because I know the ATTA sends out a lot of emails. That is one of our huge technology challenges. We just have so much to say, and we want to stay so involved with all of you that we know it gets a little overwhelming, and we are consciously working on that. So I didn't send out a separate survey for that one, for this report. But I did find some really good information that's out there that's for free, that you can find by Googling, but it takes time and then, the expertise to find the right thing and read it and interpret it. But a WTTC World Bank survey found that 94% of tour operators are interested in or planning to make investments in technology in the near future. So that's huge. About half of accommodations, about 65% of DMO marketing firms. So technology is big, but especially with tour operators right now. A couple other findings and things, a Skift and Amazon report, and this one is free, that is out there. It's a really good one if you're interested in kind of finding an overall digital transformation report. The top technology priorities are more flexible payment and reservation options, which I know a lot of you have been doing with the pandemic. I know that was one of the big ways to address the issue with travel and having to cancel trips, was making things more flexible, reducing cancellation fees, moving things around, allowing consumers to reschedule their trips. So that's still important. Improving their customer service experience, their e-commerce experience, developing new products and services, and evolving their customer acquisition strategy. So that one goes to the, finding new customers in that first phase of the lead funnel. Which, by the way, that phrase just made me remember we do have a class, an Adventure EDU class, or an online EDU class that is talking about the sales lead funnel. So it's on our website. You can find it going to adventuretravel.biz. And if you're interested in that, I know there's a really good rate for members. You can go on and check that class out. Marketing and online booking. So every year we do our travel trend snapshot report. And just another little tiny little plug there. If you get Prosper, if you're an ATTA member and you got Prosper this morning, in the introduction, Mira links off to the Adventure Travel Trend Snapshot for this year. So we just released it today. We just made the survey live, so you can go respond to it. And I really just a huge thank you to everyone who responds to our surveys. It is such a big deal and it helps us so much. But last year's snapshot report found that respondents had an average of 40,000 social media followers, 8,000 email subscribers, and 3,500 direct mail recipients. So even though word of mouth is still the most helpful marketing and sales tactic, of course, a lot of word of mouth is done by technology too, right? It's sharing through social media, it's forwarding emails, it's texting, the ways that we keep in touch now these days. Another interesting finding, 69% of our respondents to 2020 bookings were direct. So this is during COVID, 2020, we did ask about that year. And about half of those were through a website and half were through phone, email, or social media. The most common booking platforms were Facebook, TripAdvisor, and Tour Radar. So those are the ones that seem to be working well. Obviously, Facebook, you have to kind of have your own widget or something to be able to work that. That's a little different story. But TripAdvisor and Tour Radar might be distribution systems to look into if you think they'll work for you. And then the next finding, and I'd love your feedback on this one too. So we found consistently over the past 4 or 5 years that only about half of our survey respondents, so about half of our community, have an online booking system that accepts credit card payments. So some way that your customers can book online and pay online. Is there a reason for that? And because my first thought, and please put this in the chat, any feedback you have, my first thought was that it was too expensive or too difficult to, implement. But then, we started talking and thinking that maybe it was because you don't want that, because you actually want the personal interaction to take a booking. Is there feedback that, people on this webinar have? And if not, we can just move along. I'm just always curious. Or you can put it in the chat and I'll see it later. I'm just always curious what the barrier is, if it's just not something you want to do or if it's too difficult. Or maybe everyone on here has that. Okay, I'll move on because I don't see any immediate chats, so no worries. So technology for creating, communicating. Oh, I did just see a few come in. Thank you. Maybe I just went too fast. Yes, luxury. Good point, Sydney. Yeah. For luxury travel, some clients just want to do it directly. So they make sure they get exactly what they want. Personalized interaction. It's too difficult to customize it, different currencies and exchange rates. That's a big important one too. Okay, thank you both. Okay, so technology for creating, communicating, and connecting. So this is the third part of the report. So the functions of technology. I know this is another maybe academic image, but I come from academia. I'm sorry, I come from, that's my research background. I think it's hard to get away from that. But I do think it helps to have some kind of framework to help you divide out, the different things that technology can do for us, to have a step-by-step process that we'll talk about later. So technology can help us to create, connect, and communicate. And let's look at each of these. So technology for creating. We all know the core of your business is your product, your service offering, the experience that you give to customers. That's what we're selling, is the experience. So technology can be really useful for developing the product itself, to figure out, first of all, what your competitors are doing, what they're offering. That's a really good way to find out, how you can improve your products or create new ones. Pricing your products, so challenging, right? Especially with COVID happening, with the market uncertainty, we need to be able to calculate our costs and then how much you're going to mark up. Well, you can still be competitive or show your added value. to assemble descriptions and images, create packages. Even if you are doing personalized, in-person bookings or direct connection bookings, consumers still want to see lots of pictures. And we'll talk a little more about pictures in a little bit. And then there's tools like the Travel Insights with Google. So these might be a little more advanced. I did see that another challenge is SEO and SEM, and those are really, really tough because a lot of companies are doing it and a lot of companies don't really know how to do it. And that's in every industry. That's not only adventure travel, but tools like that can help you see where travel demand is coming from and to see the search trends to see what travelers are looking for. And that's a free tool that Google offers. So if you are looking for something different to try, if you haven't heard of this, try Googling the Travel Insights with the Google tool and it'll come up and you can dig in and find some more information on maybe how to help market the product or at least see what travelers are looking for. And of course, with trends, we do our industry snapshot report. We have lots of ATN articles. If you're not already receiving ATN email newsletter every 2 weeks, we do include things like trends in there and see what's going on in the industry. That might be a good, easy resource, free resource. And then of course, while your guides are out there leading trips, your accommodations or renting rooms, we still have the back office staff. We have all the support staff who are just as important as the front staff. And technology is helping them also support the customer-facing activities. So it can manage your staff needs, coordinate schedules, pay employees, pay external invoices, manage your funds. I'm assuming most of you probably have some kind of software for this. Track equipment, inventory, and rentals. Maybe it's Microsoft Excel for some of these. Maybe, hopefully not. If it's not working for you, maybe it's time to look for something else, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes also. And one other thing actually that I want to mention on this creating slide is the concept of co-creating. So we talk a lot about this in marketing, so you might have heard it out there. And what that really means is personalization and customization, where the potential traveler, potential client wants to work with you to create the perfect trip for them, the perfect experience for them. So co-creating, we really need technology to do that because then the customer can contact us, tell us what they want. You're working together, you're communicating back and forth over technology. And that concept is becoming really, really important. And we're seeing that in trends too, that, custom trips and custom products are becoming very popular. And a lot of our members are doing them, which is great. We're talking about communicating. This is such a big topic. So these are the main channels, the main ways that we communicate. So first of all, I'm assuming everyone here has a website. If not, you should get one. It should be a professional one. It shouldn't just be like a Facebook page. It should really be some kind of professionally designed, template-based. There's a lot of easy, cheap options out there, but you should have some kind of website. Social media. You should be on at least a couple different social medias, and that really depends on who your customers are and what they're using. So it's a great way to, use word of mouth because your current customers can share posts or share pictures with new customers. They can like you. So, you can push out messages directly to them without having to do emails. So social media is important. But with social media, one really important tip, actually, we'll talk about it on the next slide. Sorry, I'm trying to keep myself organized here with my notes. A CRM system. So this is a customer relationship management system. And a lot of you probably have some version of this. And again, this could be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet with as much information from your customers as they're willing to give you. Russell, our director of North American sales, loves to tell a story about how he went into a lodge. He owns and operates a lodge. He went to another one to try and help them because they kept saying, "Oh, we're having such a hard time getting customers." And he went in and they had all these paper forms filled out in boxes and boxes of consent forms, basically, of the forms you have to sign before taking a trip or before doing an activity, the waiver forms. And he said, well, here's your CRM right here. It's just on paper in boxes. they had all this great information, they had these great contacts, and they weren't using them. So something really important to think of, especially if you've been in business for a while, if you're very paper-based, this is really something that's worth digitizing. It's worth, there are some free options for CRMs. Salesforce is a really popular one that I know a lot of our members use. That's what we use at ATTA. We use Salesforce. It's a little complicated. It can be confusing. It's so powerful that it may be just more than what you need, but a CRM system. Oh, thank you, Dave. Yeah. So sorry, I'm following the chats coming in. So as a media editor, branded email address is vital. Yep. Oh no, Kevin, I didn't say Salesforce was free. I'm sorry. There are some free options out there, but Salesforce isn't free, but it's very, very powerful. And it's what a lot of our members use. So one worth looking into, and you can always get in the hub. That's a really good resource. If you're an ATTA member, you can go in the hub and ask others what they're using, or if you're friendly with other businesses in your community, most of us are. That's the other thing I love about adventure travel community is it's competitive, but in a friendly way. People aren't out to get each other. We're really all here to support each other. So ask other people what they're using, and maybe something would work for you. Oops. And then the distribution system. Oh, thank you, Valentina. HubSpot. There we go. There's one suggestion. So reach out to us or to the community. In the hub, I meant the hub on ATTA's website, if you remember. But you can find lots of information out there. And then a distribution system. So this is how you get your product out there. So definitely should have information on your website. Which OTAs do you want to use? We do have some information in snapshot reports, and again, Facebook and the other one Tour Radar are the most popular ones right now, and TripAdvisor. So thinking about some tips for messaging. So on here, you would be surprised, I guess. I'm sure, most of us have a pretty good idea of what we're putting out into the public. Whenever I've done communication audits or marketing audits for companies, and I'm not saying someone in our community in particular, I've done lots of marketing audits throughout the years, and you'd be surprised what type of messaging people put out there, especially if you are using, you or anyone listening on a future recording are using the same Facebook account for your personal account and your business account. You need to set up a separate business account right now. That's something that is kind of strange that you still see more than you would think. Your message needs to be really authentic and professional. So you should have professionally done photos. It's worth the investment to do it once, and it really needs to be accurate. That is the one thing in marketing we always say is that do not set up false expectations. You might get people to come buy your product once, but they're not going to come back. They're going to tell everyone else. So you just be honest with what you're selling to set appropriate expectations. And something else, we mentioned DEI earlier, diversity. Show your target markets in the pictures. You probably saw the news a few weeks ago. There was some backlash on Fiji for using a lot of white people in their ads, and that just in the US at least, that's trending away right now. We really want to show diversity because everyone travels. So we really want to see that in the marketing. Everyone wants to be made comfortable by marketing and images. Access to the social media pages should be limited to few people. This is another one that ties in with that first one that you might be surprised. We always hear about how people who had access to a company's Twitter account and then they leave and they post crazy messages, or someone who's logged into the wrong account on their phone and they send out a message that was meant to be personal, but it went on the public company account. Be really, really careful who has access to it and what they're saying. You should have some kind of guidelines around the messaging to make sure it's consistent and professional. Authenticity. We hear this word so much too, and this is really something technology can help us to share and to get out there. Authenticity isn't a limiting factor. It's really about showing the special features of your services. So show your guides, show who they are, show their personal connections, tell their stories, do little posts on social media about your really cool employees. That's what sets you apart. the unique features of your accommodation, or anything that sets you apart from the competition. That's what should be out there. That is what your customers want to see. And also remember, communication with guests doesn't stop after their trip. So going back to, if you know Russell, his story about finding all the forms, the waiver forms in paper boxes, that means that the company, that accommodation, probably never followed up with those people again. They probably just stuck the papers in the boxes and stuck them in a corner, and that was it. You should really keep following up. You know, the best customer is a past customer who is happy with your services. They're going to either come back or tell others about you. You know, ask people to leave reviews on TripAdvisor, or, you know, other OTAs that you're on, or Facebook, other applicable review sites. There are also customer survey tools, like little widgets that integrate with websites and CRM solutions. And we're getting pretty technical here. Some of you may be familiar with this concept, some not. But you know, you can have a tool that integrates with your website and then pulls the feedback automatically into your CRM. So it says, this customer was on your trip and they gave you a 5 out of 5. And then your reviews can be published right online. And really, most importantly, use this information. That's the other thing in marketing. You know, we write so many reports and we, you know, gather so much data, and then so often we don't do anything with it. To have your staff track what's going well and what needs to be done differently. Oh, and thanks. I see Dave's putting in some tips there. Thank you. Just kind of watching the chat as it goes. So then, technology for connecting. We use this term touch points in marketing. So there are many connections or touch points during a guest journey. So every time they think about you, or they, you know, talk to you in some way, or they go visit your website, or they reopen an email that you sent them, or they see a post on social media, all of that is really touch points. And so we do this pre-trip, in-trip, and post-trip. How can you make sure they're all positive? So one good exercise is to sit down and think about all the different ways guests interact with your company. So pen and paper, you know, we send them an email, we send them a thank you, we greet them at the airport, you know, all the different things that you do, and then think of how you can make sure they're all positive, even if they're small. So pre-trip connections. So first, you know, you can connect guests to each other. If you're running a trip or a group trip where people may not know each other, set up some kind of communication system where they can share their Facebook information with each other. You know, optionally, of course, you don't want to force everyone to do that, but they want to get to know the people on their trip before they go. Also, make sure your guests have a way to reach you at all times. And this includes during their travels. So if they have a 24-hour trip to come see you, if they're traveling for a really long time, which I'm sure a lot of your guests are, you know, if their flight gets delayed or canceled, they're going to need to reach you somehow. And they're really going to rely on you for some, you know, some support and just helping them out. So make sure they have some way to reach you. And that applies in trip as well. Make sure that the guests can connect with you at all times. Even if you're doing self-guided tours, make sure that they have some kind of, you know, a cell phone that works or some way to communicate with you in case they need help. In addition to you, most guests will want to be able to connect with their friends and family during their trip. And technology can also connect guests to locals that they meet during the trips. So the second one, connecting with friends and family. We've heard of companies doing things like technology breaks, where you have lunch at a cafe with good internet access. And it's just kind of a planned break and a planned time where they know they'll be able to upload pictures to social media and check their messages. They really appreciate things like that. And then even afterwards, you know, if the locals they meet during their trips, if you take them to a local handicraft market, you know, make sure that you share the Facebook pages or Instagram accounts or websites of those markets so that the guests can, you know, refer to them later or share the links later or buy something later if they have online selling capabilities. Those are all really cool ways to do it. And then afterwards, again, ask for links to online review sites. I don't know the most current statistic, but something like 75% or 80% or more of guests look at online reviews before they book something. And it's huge. It's such an important thing. And this messaging can also include follow-up ways that they can help and be supportive and take positive action, especially, with things like sustainability. So they can support conservation, follow news, get more information, share all your social media links. And really, it's about relationships. That's the word we hear a lot in marketing and communications. You're not selling at people, you're creating relationships with them. And keep your connection strong and authentic. That's the way to do it. So the next section, choosing the right technology. And this might be where the people who selected 5 on our first poll in the beginning, this would be really a great time for you to speak up. So does anyone have technology, you can put in the chat again, that you really, really like? I saw HubSpot for CRM. Oh, Sandra, good question. How often do you post on social media? How do you go about it? I would love, this can be time for a little bit of a conversation, advice giving. We have more to talk about, of course, more slides, but the report's online too. If conversation's more useful right now, let's do it. So Valentina said HubSpot. Of course, we recommend Flywire. I know we're a little bit biased. There are other payment solutions out there. There are other technology solutions out there. SEO, SEM, Google Analytics is a good technology. Okay, I will. Oh, good. Less annoying CRM. There you go. $15 per month per user. That's a really affordable price. Oh, thank you, Becca. It looks like you sent it to hosts and panelists. So I'll share with everyone. It's called Less Annoying CRM is the name of it. Weird name, but only $15 a month per user. Google Analytics, great. Insight tools and socials. Yeah, there's lots of social media platforms where they can, help you schedule posts. They can help you see your engagement, and so you're not just flying off the seat of your pants, as we say in America, going by the seat of your pants. Okay, well, if you want to keep sharing things in there, I will keep moving along a little bit. So choosing the right technology. So starting at number 1, in this, it is a cycle because it really is a cycle. By the time you pick a technology, you choose it, you implement the solution, it's really just about time to reevaluate it. Make sure it's working for you. You make sure there's nothing better out there. New technology is coming out every single day. And that doesn't mean that you have to constantly change your technology, but it does mean if you start to be unhappy with something about your technology, it's time to go out and look. Maybe there's something better or more affordable or easier to use or more local, whatever your key needs are. So we're going to walk through each of these steps. So first, of course, anytime you're looking for new technology, you want to identify your needs and what you're looking for. So your best source for this is your own staff. You talk about their biggest challenges. What do they hate doing? What takes them so long? What do they spend so much time in their day on? Think also about all different areas of your business. So it's not only about the marketing side, it could also be about invoicing or about your internal communications. Like we use Slack at ATTA and we love it. It works really well for us. Maybe that's not the right choice for you, but there might be some kind of team messaging system that is, or it could just be WhatsApp. It doesn't have to be something super fancy and expensive. Think about what your customers want. What technology are they using? And then you'll kind of out of this come up with some common themes and challenges and prioritize them. Something else that, Russell, he had some input in here because he started a company called AdventureRes, and because there wasn't a solution out there that was working for him and this network of other lodges, so they built their own. But one thing that he really repeated to me when I was talking to him about technology was that you don't have to do everything all at once. You can have a plan for this year, then you can have a 3-year plan, you can have a 5-year plan. So you need to prioritize in order to be sure that you're doing everything at the right time. Do what really, really needs the most help right now. And then go out there and start looking for options. So let's say that you have prioritized building a new website. Maybe your website is really old. Maybe in a lot of cases, if someone at your company developed it and knew how to use it, but then they left, no one else knows how to use it. Maybe you don't have the login information. Maybe it just feels too overwhelming. But that's a really important tool that you need. So go out there and look for other options. Maybe you need to hire a specialist. Maybe you can do it yourself. Maybe if you just don't have a social media budget, but you have, not to stereotype, but if you have some younger employees who are on social media and really love it and are good at it, have them post some pictures. Use your team, use what everyone is good at. So begin searching for software providers. If you do a Google search for any of this, you are going to come back with so many results. It's just overwhelming. So as I mentioned, start by talking to your network. Start by asking what other people are using. Come to ATTA, we can help. We have some ideas of what our members are using. Stay focused on your needs and ask lots of questions. So sometimes, we get too stuck in this mode of, oh, I need this really fancy website. My neighbor paid $1,000 a month for this website, so I need to do it. And it's just not true. Keep your mind open. And the other thing, when you're looking for providers, a lot of times we feel really rushed, or we feel like, oh, I have to go with the first person that I talk to, or, oh, this is my only option, or, if only one was recommended to you, you feel like that's the only one that there is. And that's just not true. There are so many out there. You can do some quick research available on what is available on their website first, and then you can talk to them. Any really good, reputable providers, as you probably know as a business person yourself, any good reputable providers, if they're not the right fit for you, they will tell you. Some may refer you to one of their competitors who might be a better fit. Some might not. That's their choice. But no real good high quality provider is going to force you to do something or say, well, no, we're your only choice. So if you're feeling pressured like that, it's not the right company for you. Then choose a solution. Again, don't choose the first company you talk to right away. Maybe you choose them later on, but remember, you're the customer. You have a lot of options. So there are so many choices out there, even if it's not exactly, software that's targeted specifically to adventure travel. There are other options that are more generic, like Salesforce is for all industries. It could work for you. Some things to be cautious of, and this came from me talking and interviewing some experts in the industry for this report. Be sure that regular system updates and upgrades will be available to you with minimal effort. So you shouldn't have to pay for them unless it's laid out up front and you're expecting it and you're okay with it. There should always be a company's support team available to you if you need help. If your website goes down, someone needs to be able to help you pretty quickly. And if you're not able to find a workable solution, consider creating one. So Paul Eastoe, for example, I'm not sure if you're on the call, Paul, on the webinar, but I did an interview with him who was great. And he, like Russell, created his own. Yeah, I think they use Salesforce and customized it a lot, but they really built up something that they're proud of and they're pleased with. And you could do it too. And then implement the solution. So this one too, a lot of people just feel really rushed on. Make sure you have plenty of time, make sure the solution's working correctly, and that preferably at least more than one person on your team, at least two people, need to know how to use it. And this is, again, to avoid the situation that some of us have probably been in, where one person set it up and then they know how it works and then they leave. So more than one person needs to be familiar with it, and you should be too. At least, I always think of, I don't have to be an expert in everything, but it really helps to be able to speak the language with someone who is. So I'm not an expert at building websites, but I know how to talk to someone who is and make sure that I know what to ask for. Where I can't fix my own car, but my dad's a mechanic. He made sure that I know how to ask the right questions and talk to the person fixing my car, so that I can take some responsibility too. So make sure everyone on your team who needs to use the technology is trained by the provider before it's launched. And then reevaluate and reconsider. So this, step number 5 on our circle, there's never really going to be an end. Once you have a system in place, hopefully it'll work really well for a while. It probably won't work well forever. It might be 2 years, it might be 10 years, but if it didn't work, think what didn't work and try another one. Again, at this point, you have so many options that you should not be pressured by a company into like a 10-year contract on anything. It's just not how it works now. So if that's happening to you, then, go somewhere else, talk to somebody else, and reevaluate your solutions on a regular basis. Okay, so looking forward, I'm going to check in on the chat. I see a message. Yes. Dave's internet dropped right in the middle of a technology webinar. I see in the chat. Yes, I wish I could show you guys my setup right now for the technology webinar I'm presenting. We just do what we have to do. Okay, so moving forward, so let's talk about what's coming up in the future. I know we only have about 8 minutes. So as I'm talking through, please, use this time to pop any other questions you have into the chat. If we have a few minutes at the end, we'll cover them. Or, if your question comes in last second, I will, again, write it up in an ATTA article or reach out to you directly. We're always here for that. So yes, very good point, Dave. Thank you. So make sure your content is transferable. So if you have a website, it needs to be your website. This is something else I've actually heard a lot of people have this issue with, that, a company says, well, you pay us $30,000 to build this website, and then if you want to leave us, too bad, you have to get a new one. That's not the way it should work now. There's so many choices, so much competition. You need to make sure that you own your content. So moving forward, multiple platform capabilities. So this is things like I was talking about earlier, like being able to connect with your customers on any channel that they want, within reason. If you have a Facebook, a WeChat, a phone number, an email address, that's probably enough. Just offer a couple different ways to be sure that they can reach out to you in the way that they're most comfortable with. Social distancing, yes, we know. I know everyone on this call is probably doing it in your tours and in your business, and customers are still going to want that. And all the research I'm seeing that you've probably heard too is that nature travel, adventure travel, outdoor travel is coming back quick, and it's going to be much more popular because people want to stay away from each other. They want to be out in the wilderness, or at least outside, and spend more time with nature and less time enclosed in spaces or places like Machu Picchu that there's just constantly so many people. So social distancing is really important, and there are a few options. So Google Maps has a busyness feature that you might have seen. What else did I find? TripAdvisor now has a crowdfree.me system. So they can, you can go on that website. I'm not sure what regions of the world it's in now, but people can see like red spots for where COVID is still has a stronghold, where it's still an issue, and where there's lots of different people. The open traveler, this one is a little bit of an ambiguous concept. It really means like the traveler can share their information with the central database, and then they don't have to give 50 different companies or all the different airlines and all the different hotel chains and all the different tour operators they've ever worked with. They don't have to give all of them their information. If they put it out there in one spot, multiple people can come access it. So that's becoming more popular. Augmented reality and virtual reality. We have been hearing a lot about this too, and I think it's really important, especially as things like accessibility become more talked about, because virtual reality can help people who may not be able to physically travel to a place. They can help them, VR can help them experience it. Or kids in school, they can get their VR headset and they can really go to the place that their teacher's talking about. There's so many really cool options. Or people who are trying to decide between 2 different tours, they can take like a quick 10-minute preview of each one and pick. There's so many options and ways that we can use this. And don't worry if you are not doing virtual reality right now, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just keep it in mind as something maybe for the future. You can do easier versions of this, like with videos. People do, if you have a video on your website, a nice professionally produced one, that's a really good start. Just having people really feel like they can experience your product. So key takeaways. Just the things to remember. I know we have 4 minutes and I see 2 things in the chat. So technological tools can make the jobs of your staff easier. This is really the goal that I want you to keep in mind. You can automate marketing, communication, bookings, payments, so that they can be out talking with and working with your customers. Most adventure businesses, we know a lot of our budgets are tight, especially with COVID. Believe me, we know at ATTA, we've heard it all. We've been struggling, I know Shannon's been public about that. We're doing better. I know so many of you are doing better, and that's great. But we know that you can't just jump in tomorrow and do everything, and that's okay. So schedule something, every quarter, every 6 months, every year. Just keep talking about technology and what you can improve. Pick little things. You don't have to make huge changes at once. With platform integration in mind, you can grow or change your technology solutions in an effective and affordable way. So you can have a suite of solutions. Maybe one brand or one company's suite works really well for you. Maybe you need to pick and choose a la carte the best options and put them all together. There are affordable options for you out there. Especially after COVID, travelers are looking for more online shopping options, digital communications, contactless solutions. This is even things, like with payments, they want to be able to just do things online and not worry about it later. They want to be able to, if you have an accommodation, they want to be able to check in contactless in some ways. And technology, just the key takeaway, it's no longer only a nice to have. We talk to people, or we talk to all of you, our businesses in our industry all the time. And, we at ATTA keep lots of Slack channels open. We're always talking about trends and what we're hearing from our members. And we know that it's really at a point where you have to have it. You have to have certain options, pen and paper. Even if it's still working for you today, I would really suggest that it may not work for you tomorrow. Now is the time to start moving forward and looking for new options. So 2 more minutes. I see, Andres, I know that it's not happening in some areas. And I know it's really hard, especially with vaccine inequity and so many other options. There's so many other issues that are out there. We know it's still hard in some areas, but it is picking up in a lot of areas, and I know it's going to come to your region. I know you are somewhere in South America. I don't remember if it was Colombia or Ecuador, but it will be back. US travelers are itching to get out there, and we'll be back. And global rescue. Oh yeah, we have tons. So I think I have one more slide on here. So resources. So these are our members. At the time I wrote the report, I apologize if I missed you. If you're on here and you think you should be added here, send me an email. I will, of course, go back and add you. So as of December 2021, these were some really good resources. So just someplace good to start. And with 1 minute left, I will put this slide up with my information, heather@adventuretravel.biz. I really love hearing from all of you. I get lots of emails, asking, do you have any information about the UK market or about this activity? And I can't always help, but if you do have questions like that, it really helps me to know what questions are out there, because I get to, to a certain point, choose what research ATTA focuses on. And I want to know what you're looking for, because then we can find out for you. Especially having access to this whole community is so amazing. So it is, well, for me, 12 o'clock on the dot. Is there anything else? Thank you all for attending and joining. I don't know if La Crystal or Flywire has anything to close out. Otherwise, thank you all. And again, I'll look through the chat and see if there's anything else that can be addressed. I really appreciate you all attending, and please reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn or email me. I love talking to all of you and connecting with you. Good. Thank you all. Okay, so La Crystal, I think you can close us out whenever we're ready.